This is a TRT production sponsored ad. Tonight's sponsor is swag_memorabilia. Go ahead and check out swag_memorabilia on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you. Hey y'all, Mountain Man here, bringing you another episode of Toke Talk. Tonight's episode is part 3 of The Day God Blinked. Enjoy.
Well, it was short, and it was really rather impressive decoding anything like this, obviously.
Ben! He said. He paused and then said objectedly.
Hello. Are you content?
There was a few seconds silence before I started laughing uncontrollably, mostly out of relief. Ben looked indignant. Well, I think it's very pungent message, better than prepare to be annihilated. Oh God, hold on a second. I can't breathe. You had me shitting myself there for a minute.
I take it then, you don't believe in what I have found
God.
is a message from the alien race. Would you please stop laughing?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ben, you've got to admit, if you were to imagine a contact from another species, I think I'd be looking for something a little more. I don't know, profound? I mean, we've sent out a gold disc giving a snapshot of the human race and our knowledge, music, mathematics, you name it. And what do the hyper-intelligent aliens send back? The equivalent of, have a nice day.
Well, you don't think it's from outer space then?
He reiterated. I looked at his pained expression and answered in a more reasonable voice. Look, Ben, I'm sorry. I think your algorithm found a pattern that just wasn't there and extrapolated meaning from it. Turning, I returned to the beanbag and my pursuit of magazines. He stood there for a few moments and then he turned and flopped down in a large, comfortable swivel chair behind another desk. This one littered with laptops in various states of construction and destruction, constructed by an array of cables in what appeared like a hazard fashion. Pressing the on switch of 3 of them, his face was illuminated in the telltale glow of their screens. His focus filtering between the screens, his fingers dancing across the keyboard in front of him. He had nevertheless decided to continue and began outlining his newest theory.
I disagree. I'll even go further and state that this is an alien species with an interest in the human race. A species directly involved in the evolution of mankind.
Here we go. Are we really back on the engineer's theory again once more? Has Ridley Scott been sending you secret messages in his films again? I muttered, not looking up from the page I was now reading. He ignored this and continued, of course.
Think about it. The human body is an amazing machine. It regulates itself, heals itself, and has the ability to create more of itself through reproduction.
I thought you only believed in things you'd experienced for yourself, I had asked, peering over the top of the magazine at him, my voice now openly amused. I saw him scowl before he continued with his monologue.
As I was saying before, was so rudely interrupted, the human body is an amazing machine, and that is exactly what it is. A piece of technology, built using biological parts rather than mechanical ones. It is not, however, a perfect machine.
What do you mean? I asked despite myself.
Well, think about it. It has its own defensive capabilities in the form of white blood cells, to ward off illness, the ability to heal wounds, etc., etc. Occasionally, through this excellent piece of machinery, goes wrong. It functions incorrectly. It has a faulty piece of code, if you will. The immune system could start overreacting, attacking normal, healthy cells, or maybe it fails in its job in attacking the defective ones. It should be dealing with, letting them grow and expand unchecked.
Such as...
Well, why cancer, of course.
What? I asked, shocked despite myself. It was only another crazy conversation with Ben, but the word cancer always sent an involuntary shiver down my spine. I'd seen enough of this effect on my friends and family to be adverse to even its mentioning. Ben, though, obviously to my discomfort, he continued.
Cancer is just one example of the body failing to perform its defined function. An internal failure of biological system, a mistake, nothing more. We have in essence a design flaw, and if our god or gods are supposedly infallible, then the logic dictates we are not built by a benign omnipotent being, but rather are constructs of more fallible ones. Action should have taken to rectify these errors. To complain, if you will.
Despite myself, I took another look over the magazine at him. Nervous now from a reason I quite couldn't put my finger on. What did you do?
Why, I sent them a message back telling them this, of course.
I hadn't seen Ben in 6 months. Work had kept me busy in London, and he wasn't one for texting or casual phone calls to catch up. Then one day he called me up suddenly to come visit. By this time, snippets of information about the Blink had begun to leak out onto the internet. Even some of the more respected sites and journals, more normal people, saw it as just a mad conspiracy theory. Having spoken to Ben before, though, when he'd outlined all the data, the facts that other sources with the same information sent chills through me. It was one thing for it being just another one of those crazy theories, but quite another when a growing number of external bodies were now seeming to confirm events' existence. This time when I rang his doorbell, he answered on the first ring, but I wasn't ready for the sight when he opened the door. He was haggard and tired, like he hadn't slept in days, and his clothes were rumpled and dirty. Even when some of as I stood there, I caught a look in his eyes. There were bloodshot. There were large, dark circles under them, but there was a calm I hadn't seen before, which was echoed in his voice as he welcomed me in. I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the time, but then it dawned on me. I'd seen and heard this kind of response before. Those were in the final stages of terminal illness, acceptance. I felt my body prickle with unease, the chills that ripple across your skin when you stop thinking in the past or the future and all your attention is suddenly focused. And now, because your world is about to change in some fundamental way. I paused in the doorway and I looked him in the eyes. Then, without thinking, I drew him into a massive bear hug. Ben had never been in one for physical contact, and all the time I'd known him, he accepted the hugs without question. I felt some of the tension release from him. He parted after a short while, and I asked him sincerely, "Are you okay? Nothing's wrong with you?"
No. Nothing physically, at least.
Good, because you look like shit. He laughed weakly at that, and then quietly he stood there silently for a moment, but the thought that had been nagging at my mind since had invited me forced itself out. I'd noticed on the web there's been a lot of noise about the blink thing. You mentioned last time. I was wondering, did you get an answer? He smiled weakly, ignoring my question, inviting me in and simply pointing me to the large bean bag for me to sit, as I had done so many times before. If anything, his apartment was even messier than the last time, but somehow the impression of organized chaos was gone. This was just mess that had been left to accumulate, like the owner no longer cared. As I sat down, he went over to a desk fiddled with a laptop, moved some random items on the desk almost like he was stalling. Then turning to face me, resting himself against the desk, he asked me in a vague voice,
Do you remember what we was talking about the last time you visited?
"You mean the alien thing?" I answered, trying to make my voice sound light. The smirk on my face forced and obviously fake. I had given in to his suspicions, and he knew it. Before, he would have rubbed this fact in my face, but today he didn't. Such things didn't seem to matter to him anymore, which made my voiceless fears even greater.
Not just humanity, but all life on Earth has been engineered. An external source created it and maintained it. It is my belief.
At this he laughed, a dry mocking laugh at this use of the word he had previously despised.
It is my belief now that the Earth has experienced various stages of life. There have probably been several of these stages, back from when the Earth was first formed, up to including today. Of these earlier versions, we have no substantial evidence of. The last one before us, though, we do have several indicators lying around.
He left it hanging, waiting for my mind to catch up. It didn't take long, although I was surprised at how easily I was accepting what possibly another one of his eccentric theories. "You mean the dinosaurs, don't you?" I said quietly, his restraint somehow infecting me as well now. A small smile arranged itself on his lips again, through the sadness never left his eyes.
Indeed, those big stumbling sods before us. For the sake of clarity, I have classified them as version 5.0 of life on Earth. We are version 6.0, I now have reason to believe.
What about your message? Did you get an answer?
Hey guys, it's the Wizard. Hope you guys enjoyed this part 3 of The Day Gods Blinks. Check out part 4 in about 2 to 3 days, and a exclusive interview with a childhood friend of mine. So tune in for that Saturday. All right, take care, guys.